Hi, Vincent. I hear an echo, and a very distorted echo. Hi, Vincent.
Hello?
Hi, Vincent.
Hello?
I think...
Hi.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. I can see
How are
you
you?
walking. I'm well. Your audio is not very good, I have to say.
No, it's not good?
I can hear you, but it's okay. It's okay.
Well, I'm not using any headset, so I don't know why. Is it audible or not really?
It's quite distorted.
Hold on, let me drop out and come back.
Okay.
Take your Wi-Fi.
Hi, Vincent.
Hi, is that better?
Much better.
Okay. How are you?
I'm well. Yes, I've been busy on Twitter. You're not very active there, are you?
On Twitter?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to get active on Twitter.
It's much better than anything else.
Really?
Well, I mean, I guess if you want, if you like conservative or well, the stuff that used to be able to say but can't say anymore, you can still say more or less of it on Twitter. And I mean, okay, basically there are lots of spaces complaining about who, and why, oh why, oh why is our government so bad, feminism, and so there was a link I tried to give to you, and you said you couldn't get into it or something.
Yeah, I couldn't get into the link. No, I couldn't.
Oh well.
Hold on. Can you make me full screen?
Yes, I'll have to remember how to do it. Solo layout. There we are.
Right. So, no, nothing new. Nothing quite new.
Well, I'm basically, saying, just tagging lots of Jews on Twitter.
Jews.
Rabbis, inviting them to consider, my plans for them and those Muslims.
Right.
And they ignore me, but that's okay, because I'll just tag them again and again and again.
Well,
and oh, you know what? This Edward Martin, he basically trolls every single post I have on Facebook. But he
yeah.
says things like, "Oh, I've complained to you to these big shot people that I know, these Guardian journalists, these Guardian editors, and these professional theologians, it seems." And take, oh, but and this professor who teaches us, he thinks you're such a hoot. So I don't mind them laughing at my ideas as long as it's being shared, even if they're currently being mocked by this theologian professor.
Yeah, he he showed a professor of Hindu studies my quote about saying that Hindufa is owned by Zionism, and he's like, oh, the professor was, said that's not true. I mean, I was in Hindutva. I was on the ground with Hindutva, for 10 years. I mingled with these people. I know they're all Zionists, and I know that if it's not pro-Zionist, they don't want to hear it, and they want Jews to. I have seen articles by Hindus saying they want Israel to take over India's national security. That's how messed up these people are.
Well, I think if you're not Christian or Muslim, you think Jews, how cute. They're like leprechauns, they're magic, they're very rare. And, and since we're not Christian or Muslim, we they can't harm us. It's only Christians and Muslims who, rend their garments, gnash their teeth, and tear their hair about Jews. And we're not, we're not Christians or Muslims, so we're okay. And we're not bothered about these Jews. I think that's how they think. I think a lot of Chinese people think like that because, they don't live with Jews. They don't know how annoying they are, So I think that's why they're like that. I mean, non adherents of non-Abrahamic religions. That's why they're
Yeah,
not
well,
that bothered.
these Hindus are obsessed with Jews, and I've seen them say that they worship Jews, and they do worship Jews, and they worship Israel, and they're so stupid because they think that these Jews are so much on their side against Islam, when Jews really, Israel really does work with Muslim countries and really doesn't necessarily have an agenda to immediately wipe out Islam. And, it's not like Israel is going into India and giving the Hindus all the guns and being against Islam. First, Israel sells weapons to Pakistan. Okay. They sell weapons to Pakistan. And, there's even rumors in India that I've heard, even from people who used to be pro-Zionist, that they believe that the technology that the Jews are giving them, this bomb technology, is remote controlled from Israel, and they can turn it on or off anytime that they want.
Sorry, what was that again?
So some of the Hindus are saying over in India that the technology weapons that Israel gives to India can be turned on or off or detonated from Israel. And, that there's a back door in for them to do this.
Right. Yeah, I think this was mentioned with Huawei, something about the back door and whatever. It's some technological development or something.
Yeah,
About
and I wouldn't be surprised if Israel was doing that to them, because Israel doesn't look. Israel would rather work with Muslims than Hindus, because Muslims are closer to the Noahide laws and also have a historical relationship with the Jews. Hindus barely have a historical relationship with the Jews. Not really. There were a few Jews in India, but not like so huge that they were able to cause any problems over there. And so, they think that, look, Hindus are dumb, disorganized, inefficient, incapable of ruling themselves, incapable of accomplishing anything, incapable of being on time, incapable of being organized, incapable of doing anything except making money because they're so materialistic. They don't want to they're not Muslims and Christians and Jews where they will dedicate tons of their time to their causes, and they won't build organizations that will pay people. Fuck that. They don't want to spend any money. There's never the best version of the Hindu ADL is the Hindu American Foundation, and they're Noahide, not just Zionists, not just all in bed with Jews, but Noahide, and I mean real Noahide, not like, seeming Noahide. I mean on paper Noahide, the word Noahide. And they barely employ anyone, and they're just, and then they're really nothing more than a left-wing rag, and because they're all into, and they defend Islam. Okay, and it's run by Jews. It's a Hindu organization run by Jews that defends Islam when it comes to, like, they were saying that getting Trump elected was that it's mixing racism, and Islam is racism, and the only reason people don't like Islam is because of racism and all this bullshit. And that's Jews saying that through them.
Well, I think everybody's just a little bit confused about what they should do, and Jews are completely messed up in the head about themselves as well. So everybody's having a kind of identity crisis, and I guess it doesn't help the discourse that they are. I'm afraid, it's just this whole idea of Jews being God's chosen people, whether you believe it or not, you kind of react to it. So I mean, with organized religions like of Christianity and Islam, they'll fight against it by tweaking their scripture or doctrine to deal with the Jews, like, oh, they're no longer God's chosen people, we are now. Oh no, you're not, we are. It's that kind of thing. And I guess if you're not one of the Abrahamic religions, you feel you're above the fray, and you'll just read into it what you will, and then you'll find a Jew who'll tell you what you want to hear, and you'll find yourselves, thinking Jews are wonderful and the magic or something. I know the Chinese have this sort of, leprechaun view of Jews. So I remember this. I think he's a New Yorker. He's an American and a New Yorker, and he married a Chinese woman. And he was saying on YouTube, my Chinese mother-in-law, when she heard I was from New York, she wanted me to be Jewish, and she was so disappointed, when she discovered that I wasn't Jewish. So this is this is anecdotal evidence of the peculiar obsession of, well, not peculiar, because everybody seems to be obsessed by Jews, of the Chinese. So they've written a lot of self-help books like, why can't we be more like the Jews? Look at them, they're so rich and blah, blah, blah. And they talk like that. And also in Chinese universities, instead of Christian studies in their university departments or Islamic studies, they have Jewish studies. So I'm afraid everybody, whether they like them or not, are obsessed about it. And this is one of the things I posted on Twitter, that Gentiles are obsessed by Jews. And I think that they're really offended that Jews are not as obsessed about them as they seem to be about Jews.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's just disgusting that these people, it seems like nobody in the world has a life that's more valuable in their own eyes than the Jews. I mean, how weak is your life that you're obsessed, you live vicariously through the Jews, and you think that they're this power that magically influences your life, and you think they're magical people, and you view them with such curiosity, like, who the fuck are you that you're not obsessed with your own culture? Jews are obsessed with their own culture, okay? Like, Jews are obsessed with themselves, okay? And it shows. Like, they don't think anyone is more special than they are. They don't sit around fretting over people in the same way that people fret over Jews. Jews fret over, like, prejudice and stuff like that. But, they're not, like, sitting around being like, oh, God, we're being controlled from the outside, or, oh, these people have near mystical powers where they just always get their way. Like, Jews don't sit around thinking like that. Hold on one second. I just need to get the battery for the phone.
Yeah, I was okay. One of my posts today was about why anti-Semites are just so mad at Jews, and it's almost as if Jews are kind of the aristocracy and Gentiles are the peasants. So you would expect the peasants to obsess about the aristocracy and, wonder how they're going to be running, society. And or another analogy is Jews are celebs and Gentiles are, fans. And that kind of explains, or might make that kind of analogy might make sense for more people. And of course, another example would be when you're in a relationship and you're always thinking about that person and that person isn't thinking about you at all, and you get mad at them for, well, not thinking of you enough.
Yeah, I mean, and nothing is going to break this relationship until the Noahide laws become. Look, no one is going to stop obsessing with the Jews until their Noahide laws are fulfilled, and everyone can see that this is a big problem, and that for the first time in their history ever, they are the direct cause of a problem. And they're the direct cause. Noahide directly comes from them. And, once the Noahide laws are implemented, it's going to be like ancient Israel. Society is going to destabilize, and we're all going to start fighting with each other. And
we already are.
No, but I mean, no, I'm talking about really hardcore. I'm talking about like ancient Israel.
Like World War III.
I'm talking about ancient. No. They are going to use the Noahide laws to subvert World War III. Everyone is going to come together and say we need a moral system that guides us all and brings us all together. And these Noahide laws are it. So let's quit World War III. Let's do this together. And they're going to have a degree of success, but it will eventually erode society and collapse society because it's too strict, it's too fucked up, and it's going to be like ancient Israel where nobody wanted to live like that. Everyone was rebelling, and then everyone started murdering each other until the point that they were so weak that another empire came in and took them over.
Okay, okay, you have your scenario. I'm just saying, if Jews just did what I asked them to do, then everybody would be adopting secular Quranism, including the Israelis, and everybody would be living happily ever after. And also, if you did adopt secular Quranism, you'd have to adopt my register of Jews idea, and this would mean that in every Gentile country there would be a register of Jews, and to be considered a Jew, you have to be on the register, and rabbis would keep the register, and I think they would then raise standards of observance. Because at the moment it's like anybody can call themselves a Jew. It doesn't matter if they're that they're even observant. They just because the Reformed Jews. I think that's okay. I don't know the exact numbers of Reformed Jews compared to Orthodox Jews, but basically the Orthodox Jews say the Reformed Jews are heretics, and if one of them even wants to marry one of us, they'll have to undergo a process of conversion because we accept nothing from their kind of teaching, and there are jokes about, oh, you're a Jew and you really need some kind of shelter, and there's a Reform synagogue and there's a church. Which one do you go to? You go to the church because the Reform synagogue is so much worse than the Christians, because it's like they're pretending to be kosher when they're not. At least if you're a Jew and you entered a church, everything in it was idolatry. But if you're a Jew and you enter a Reform synagogue, you might be tricked into thinking that some of it is kosher, and that's more dangerous than preparing yourself to enter this place of abomination full of idols of Mary and Jesus. So that's their joke. So really, when you think about it, Jews are divided. All these Jews who don't even believe, who are liberal Jews, and then there's maybe a third of them who are Reform synagogues, Reform Jews, and they're in trouble because they're having a very low birth rate too. So the only Jews who are having near enough children, babies, would be the Orthodox Jews. So
yeah, I mean, look, also the power shift is changing, and everyone always associated Jews with liberalism, especially in this country in Europe.
Yeah, but it's so stupid because it's a Gentile creation, and I just can't
It's
get over how they, these anti-Semites blame even Jews for liberalism when it's obviously a Gentile creation.
Yes, that's what I tell them all the time. I tell them all the time, you hate Jews. You don't hate Jews. You hate Gentile culture. The Jews just accepted Gentile culture and went overboard with it. But this is not Jewish culture. This has nothing to do with Judaism. This is just a bunch of Jews that were raised conservative, that hated their religious background, that became liberals, and they just joined the communist movement and pushed it to extents that no one else was willing to do. And that's what's going on, and that's why you dislike them. But I tell them all the time, if Jews were pushing the Noahide law since the beginning of time, there would be no anti-Semitism except from a few idol worshippers and homosexuals and blasphemers who would be against it. But like all these white right-wing men would be Noahides if it had been preached since ancient Israel, if it had been preached in Europe, they wouldn't hate Jews, it would go along with it, and they would also realize that it was more stringent than Christianity and would actually keep idolatry, blasphemy, and homosexuality out of their societies, and they would be grateful for that.
Oh yeah, so they should rag the four Gentile religions, but they won't because they're scared of offending their Christian overlords. So that means the hypocrites, because the whole idea of believing in God is that, well, even if I suffer, I'll do the right thing because eventually God will reward me in the next life, if not in this, and that's actually what Christians and Muslims are supposed to believe in, but they don't really because they're obviously scared of their liberal government, and that's why they won't do it. So they're all hypocrites, and there is a chapter devoted to hypocrites in the Quran that says that the final destination of hypocrites is hell. So obviously, heaven will be, if it exists, will be a very, very exclusive place, and hardly anybody will be there because even all these Jews, Christians, and Muslims are complete hypocrites. They don't really believe in it, which is why they've let it slide all this time. So I mean, it's not on record anywhere in Jewish history of a time when Jews actually said to Christians, look, because we have this, duty to promote the Noahide laws, we have to tell you, Pope and Archbishop of Canterbury, that your religion is idolatry and blasphemy. They never ever did this, and we know Jews write down everything because Jewish history is in the Talmud. That's why it's in so many volumes. That's why it's called it's actually called the Babylonian Talmud and the Jerusalem Talmud, and well, they should be keeping it still. The Talmud should be a developing thing because they haven't finished yet. The story's not yet over. So I don't know what they're doing about Talmud in the 21st century. Actually, this is a question I should be asking a rabbi because it's a developing history, and there's just so many versions of it. They must, well, it must be a nightmare to even say no. Which branch of Judaism are we? And they can't agree. And I think they might even envy the Catholics for having a pope, so they can actually say, "Oh well, he's our boss man, and he's apparently incapable of being wrong on matters of doctrine." But
Well,
the
okay.
Jews and Muslims don't have an equivalent, so anybody can just say, "Oh yes, I'm a Jew, I'm a Muslim, and I say this, and my opinion is that," and it's all rubbish. And nobody can say, oh no, you're wrong, because there's nobody formally in a position of authority over them.
Well, the same thing with
They
Islam.
might as well be the hippie movement,
Islam doesn't have a central authority either.
I'm sorry?
Islam does not have a central authority either.
Well, I was just saying today that actually, if they're going to award the caliphate to anybody, it should be Iran. Because at least Iran got their country back using Islam, and it's still still an ancient empire. But all those Sunni Islamic states that they're basically basket cases, and the all under Western imperialism, and I think they hate the Shias for getting their country back. And the Americans have been successfully selling, Saudi and Qatar and all these Gulf state Muslims arms so they can go and attack Iran and Yemen. So I guess the Sunnis are not going to be saying that the Iranians have made the best use of Islam to get their country back, because they're not going to admit that the Shias interpreted the Quran better than they have been. So I think that is a problem. I mean Turkey is a big country, but then it's a secular state, and Erdogan hasn't really. Well, he's in NATO, so that's kind of sleeping with the enemy as far as Muslims are concerned. Basically Turkey is just saying, shall I be nice to you today, America, or shall I be nice to you today, Russia, and playing each side against the other. So I think anybody who thinks about this must be in despair, because there doesn't seem to be any way out of it, with everybody basically saying, well, they're basically saying, this is what I think about doctrinal matters, and there's no head honcho to go to.
Well, I mean, look, that would still look, the Jews could just as easily set up a governing body. First of all, three things could happen. First of all, the Israeli state could become more conservative and actually establish a Supreme Court, of Jewish affairs or whatever, even though they don't need the Sanhedrin. Look, Jews have proven they don't need to follow their rules. They don't follow their rules. And if they need to make something up in order to move forward, they'll do it. So there could be an Israeli Supreme Court that is religious, that has something to do with that. The Sanhedrin could be revised, even though it's not supposed to be. They could still break their own rules, which they already do, and they could do that. Or they could elect a king of Israel who would be in charge of the law. So they too could have their own little schemes in order to become centralized. And the Noahide movement is seeking to create a Noahide High Council. So they're seeking to become centralized. So it's just as easy for anyone else to centralize artificially as it is for Islam.
But it's about legitimate authority, isn't it? So basically what you're going to have is that the religious Jews will never accept the authority of the secular Jews, right? I mean, so the only way to get past that is for Gentiles, and this is what I've been saying. It's like, just ignore the secular Jews. Just don't even talk to them. Don't even consult them. But because Westerners are secularists, they can't help but keep talking to the Jews that they feel are closest to them, and that's why they always ignore the religious Jews. They never think of asking a rabbi anything at all. So I think it's a Gentile problem. Because imagine if we were all Muslims. Just imagine. I know it's a horrible idea. Then these Gentile Muslims in the West would just completely ignore the secular Jews and just go straight to the rabbi if they want to argue about theological matters. But now nobody argues about theology, because the presumption is out of atheism, and that is why the secular Jews have so much power. The Gentiles did it to themselves.
They're losing, the secular Jews are losing power, and Orthodox Jewry is rising, but also they are becoming more interested in theology. At least the Muslims are, in that Muslims are coming into the West and talking about religion in a way that Westerners have not done en masse since probably the 1950s, or even actually before. I would say since the late 1800s, mid 1800s to late 1800s, where there were religious revivals going on, or even maybe it was the early 1800s or late 1700s, where these type of mega religious revivals were going on in the West, and everyone was talking about theology. And you saw all the spring of all these new cults: Jehovah's Witness, Mormon, Christian Science, Adventists, and people were actually talking about religion and theology, and that all disappeared in the 1900s. But Muslims are coming in, but you can see these Christians, they are so weak. Well, let me tell you something. The old school Christians are talking about theology and are at least trying to a certain degree, but nominal Christians that don't go to church really that often, and they don't know nothing about theology. They don't want to know. That's the difference between nominal Christians and nominal Muslims. I think, look, here's what I say. If you're a nominal Christian, if someone is too much into the Bible, they get scared and they don't want anything to do with that. With Muslims, even nominal Muslims, they respect people that are all the way into the Quran, that are fanatics, that are radicals. They don't, they're not like, oh God, no, I want nothing to do with those people or that book. You know what I mean? They actually take it seriously. And so, these nominal Muslims, every nominal Muslim is almost like a preacher, because, they actually learn their religion. They actually want to go out and convert people. And, these Christians aren't going out and converting people, really. The only people who are converting people are Mormons, Jehovah's Witnesses, and Adventists. And, everyone else is just sitting around doing nothing.
Well, I would say that Christians are not even worth talking to, because their scripture is so obviously corrupt that nothing they say makes sense. And anyway, Jews and Muslims would be agreed with each other that the Trinity is idolatry. So it's like that, it's like that obviously, they don't understand anything, and there's no point asking them anything. And therefore the theological debate between Jews and Muslims is I guess the Jews would be saying, oh, your Quran is, well, it's not really from God. Our Torah is from God. And the Muslims will be saying, no. We agree that that God revealed the Torah to Jews and gave it to Moses on Mount Sinai, but our scripture, the Quran, is the final revelation, and that's for all of us, including Jews. And anyway, I mean, I guess I would point out to Jews that, well, Judaism is too hard for Jews, and they can't do it, and they just want all the privileges, but they don't want the responsibility of observing it. And actually, no one in Israel wants rule by rabbi, including the rabbis, because of the 36 capital offenses.
This is your other thing, Claire. There's a civil war going on in Israel over whether they want a Torah state or a secular state, and then you just come in and say, nobody wants a Torah state. Then why is there a civil war going on in Israel?
Well, if you ask these rabbis, these religious Jews, they're not saying let's reintroduce the 36 capital offenses.
Well, they can't. They can't right now, so they're not.
Yeah, because America wouldn't allow it.
There's no temple. Well, you could execute for the 36 capital offenses, but nobody cares about. No Orthodox Jew cares about those 36 capital offenses, because none of them break any of them. None of them do. And so
well, if you break the Sabbath, then you're liable.
Religious Jews don't.
And also, what about these Jews who live outside Israel who are guilty of nidaka?
No, Claire, we've gone over that. Jews lived in all parts of the empire. Jews stayed behind in the Persian Empire when the Jews went back to Jerusalem. Wherever Jews got conquested from, when the conquest was done, not all of them went back to Israel. So, the idea that, first of all, rabbis don't agree with you on that Ernie Daca, because as long as there's one Eru or one mezuzah inside of a city, then it's not Ernie Daca or whatever you call it. So,
well, they have no authority for making that ruling. Basically, if you live in any any what's a word for it? Any society, any Gentile nation that has given itself over to idolatry, you're technically guilty. So
No, no,
generations of
Claire,
Jews who lived
nobody.
in Europe
Look,
have been guilty of earning dakat,
okay, well,
and their souls are in hell, I'm afraid.
well, Clary, you're the only one who's worried about that, and no Orthodox
No,
Jew.
yeah, but okay, maybe they're not worried about it because they reject my interpretation, but they can't really just say, oh, just because some rabbi, a few centuries ago said it's all right for all these Jews to live in Christendom,
Well,
when they are the worst
during what
idolaters in the whole wide
during
world.
Claire, did you expect all the Jews in the scattering to just start murdering each other because they were living under idolatry? Like,
No, of course not. So, but the situation has to be regularized. So they have to admit, oh, we done wrong. We never said what we needed to say because we were scared of all these, terrible Christians who would have inquisitioned us and burnt us at the stake and tortured us, and and we all know how terrible the Inquisition was, the Spanish Inquisition. So it's like, yeah, we understand, but now you have to regularize everything. You just have to say, um, we have to remedy the omission, and the only way to remedy the omission is to rank the four Gentile religions. And it's like, oh, but we hate the Muslims. It's like, it's too bad. You have to rank the four Gentile religions so that these Gentiles who are obviously fucked in the head, as most of them are in the West, will know what religion to choose to fix themselves. And yes, sorry, it's not kosher enough for you, but let them slowly kind of you know um, get back to where they were supposed to be. And also, this whole Zionism thing is that, obviously, if God exists, he's not going to be happy with Jews living in Israel as a liberal democracy with globo homo. Of course, he's not happy if he exists. So I'm saying that basically Jews have been cursed by God, and the book of Deuteronomy says that. And if God curses Jews, why not Gentiles? And hey, it says in the Quran that hypocrites are cursed. So I guess we can say we're all cursed, and the only way to lift the curse is to recognize our errors and correct them.
Okay, well, earning DACA is not what they're considering, and nobody's going to listen to you, Claire. Not a single Jew on the face of this earth is going to say, well, there's Jews living outside of Israel, so that means we can't have a Torah theocracy, so let's just adopt secular Quranism. Like,
Yes. So what they have to do, these Jews, is that say, let's hope that these Western nations in Europe and well, in particular America, North America, if they adopt secular Quranism, it will just sort of, at least it's corrected. And then we don't need to worry about God getting so angry that he's going to zap them with World War III.
that's not happening, Claire.
But it's a good story.
That's not true.
Why is it not true? It's a story. It can be easily understood. Jews will feel guilty for their omission, and so will Muslims, because there's something I discovered um, on Wikipedia called the event at Mubahala, and apparently it was Muhammad challenging those Christians about the Trinity, and he didn't quite manage to make them repent, and so off they went, and that was the only time in Islamic history that Muslims ever challenged Christians. So they only did it once. So
why
I
would they do
guess.
it now? If they've been too cowardly old from the ages, why would they just start doing this now?
Well, because they're really scared of World War III, which would be very inconvenient.
Yeah, well, the Noahide laws are. Look, the Noahide laws don't necessarily ask you. Look, if they were to become Muslim, they have to believe that Muhammad is the prophet and the messenger, and they need to stop eating pork, and they need to stop drinking alcohol, and they
No, no,
need.
no, no, they don't have to under secular Quranism. You see, it's so neat and so brilliant. It's like, okay, most people, okay, most Westerners are not even Muslim, but they can live under secular Quranism and they can still eat their pork and drink their alcohol and whatever, and go to the casinos in Las Vegas or whatever. Um, but eventually the mainstream will come, it will become Muslim, and when it becomes Muslim majority, then it will just change itself into Islam, like automatically. But now it has to be secular Quranism because most people are atheists. But in a few generations, if it all goes according to plan, um, you know all these Western countries will become Muslim majority countries, and then it'll just slide into Islam. And it's so simple, and nobody needs to be forced to change their religion or anything. They just need to live under these laws that are Quranic principles of governance, and that's all. And everybody can, within the constraints of Quranic principles of governance, do what they like. I mean, the Quran doesn't say you can't drink at all. It just says you can't get drunk. And I mean, there are already laws against public drunkenness in Western countries now. It's just not enforced. I mean, in Britain, publicans would be committing a crime if they sold alcohol to somebody already drunk. So it's still quite, some laws are still, are already Islamic. Because I mean, if you actually read the Quran, you'll know that the Quran is a bit ambiguous on the question of alcohol, because it says it calls the vine a gift of God, and then the verse is saying don't come to prayers drunk, and then the other verse is saying avoid alcohol altogether. So and I'm going to interpret it in this way. I'm going to interpret it as optional. If you want to be like Saudi Arabia and outlaw it altogether, it's your choice. But if you want to say, well, we can drink provided we're not drunk, then that's also an option. I mean, that is the methodology of secular Quranism. And you may not know this, but or maybe you do, that gambling was not allowed in America, right? But people would still have bets with each other, and people like Moe in The Simpsons, he would be, I think he's Jewish, isn't he? Yes, he's Jewish, but he would kind of keep a record of who had bet with whoever, and he would keep a record of it. But actually, the law would treat it as an illegal contract. So really, if you lost a bet with somebody, you could say, "Oh, I don't have to pay you. I don't have to pay you because it's an illegal contract, and you can't sue me in court because a court won't give you judgment. But I guess a penalty for that is nobody will gamble with you again. Nobody will accept a bet from you ever again, and that would be your punishment." Do you remember Mo in The
Not
Simpsons?
really.
But I mean, there are always ways of getting around that. But it all centers on the how the law treats it. So you may know that I've fallen out with Carol because she won't accept that secular Quranism can only work in a one party state, and she said, "Oh, you're a commie," or words or imply that, and I'm saying, well, what's the point of saying, oh, the secular Quranist party won the election this year, but next time it'll be kicked out. I mean, what would be the point? And she never answers that question. She just goes back to calling me a commie, and I'm saying I'm not going to just have this sort of piecemeal reform, and that will just be swept aside at the next election. And obviously, if it's ever adopted, I want it to be permanent, or at least capable of remaining in existence. So she won't she won't agree with me about the one-party state. I guess she's afraid. I say George Washington warned against political parties. She ignores that. I say there's a verse that in the Quran that tells you not to divide your political religion into parties and rejoice in your own doctrines. She just ignores that. So, I can't really do anything with her because, I guess she's a frightened old lady and she doesn't want to sound too radical. And so anyway, I fell out with her. The other thing is that I'm saying prostitution has to be legalized. And she's saying no way, and I say, well, Nevada is okay with it. So it's not that I'm even proposing anything un-American. Nevada has licensed brothels, and she's saying no. But there's a verse in the Quran that actually says, don't force your slave girls into prostitution if they wish to remain chaste. So I'm saying, well, if you don't force them, and they're happy to become prostitutes in order to more quickly manumit themselves, then it's all right. And if a slave girl can choose to be a prostitute, all the more a free woman. So what's your problem? And she's saying, no, I'll never support such a thing. And anyway, I'm pleased about that because it allows me to make the point that secular Quranism would make licensed brothels a feature.
Yeah,
and
they
it would have to be a one-party state, so people kind of get the idea.
Are not going to go. Well, I don't even know. No, Muslims would go along with that as long as you did what is it called, nikamusa, where you would marry her temporarily and then sleep with her and then divorce her.
Okay, that's not the point of marriage. Marriage is for legitimate children. So if you're marrying anybody for okay, what they want is it's a girlfriend contract, right? Or a concubine contract. So I mean, I suppose you could say, oh, you can be my girlfriend, and if you get knocked up, I'll marry you and pay for the kid, and it's not a bastard. So that's a concubine contract. Okay, fair enough if you want to play it like that. But otherwise, it's a kind of girlfriend contract. Yes, we'll be exclusive with each other for whatever period you agree to, but that's not you see, these contracts actually undermine marriage because they are substitutes for marriage. Because let's face it, most people want to have sex with each other without necessarily wanting to marry each other, men and women. So what my plan is basically to make it really clear. Right now, for heterosexuals, the greatest supply of sex is extramarital sex from women not married to the man they're having sex with. That's why the illegitimacy rate is so high. And I'm going to make it.
If Muslims have no problem with this system of marrying girls for a night and then divorcing them the next day, and so that's basically prostitution. Well, why would they give that up? Because number one, it gives them this air of righteousness because they married the girl. Why would they give up this system where they can save face and just go sleep with a prostitute?
Okay. A lot of it is to do with pride, right? You talk to some men, and these men who hate the idea of prostitution think of themselves as being, attractive enough or smooth talking enough to get a work girl to have sex with them for free. And so they don't, think I don't need I don't need brothels. I'm not like those losers who would never be able to chat up a woman. It's all about self-perception and snobbery, and these men think. A lot of men like to think that it's an option for them. Like, oh, I'll go to a singles bar and I'm going to chat up some woman, and and I'm going to have sex with her, and that is kind of their idea of scoring and getting lucky. And I'm
You,
saying,
you're
no,
saying you
these
want
women
to
who go to singles bars and use Tinder and whatever, they are the problem. And what I'm proposing is to make the choice for women really clear. Are you going to be the kind of woman who gives wife sex, or are you going to be the kind of woman who gives prostitute sex? Which one
well,
are you going to
look,
choose?
don't you ban fornication? Don't you ban fornication?
Okay, there is that gray area because uh, secular Quranism is not going to punish you if you have sex. You know, it's only going to punish you when you have illegitimate offspring, both male,
Yeah, but you
whether,
birth control.
so it's going to treat unmarried parents as sex offenders. So that is non-negotiable. So anything in between, you'll probably get away with it. But the perception in society will be that, obviously, if you're a woman, you want to be a woman who gives wife sex and not prostitute sex.
Okay, well, look, you're just going to deny everyone birth control. So, I mean, the idea that,
Well, not immediately. Okay, no, okay. I'm going to deny. Um, no, I'm going to give birth control to registered prostitutes. Of course, they need birth control. They're going to have registered, and also married mothers who've completed their family. They deserve the pill. But
okay,
everyone else, well,
if
they'll
just
have to.
people that want a one night stand are going to say, okay, I'm going to give up birth control, um, so I can, so I can't fully sleep with her. I can't get the full experience as I would under a secular government. So, I either have to pull out or not ejaculate. So,
Well, you can use a condom.
yeah, no, but you deny birth control. You won't allow birth control.
No, no, I'm good. No, no, the pill. It's a pill that is a problem. So anything, um, of course, they can use condoms because I mean, otherwise it would be just terrible for married people.
Well, I mean, okay, not everyone wants to use a condom. No, and then okay, the thing about the pill is that the man can enjoy himself and the woman can enjoy herself without a condom, and that's the point. Nobody wants to use condoms, and I mean, so you're giving them a choice of either using a condom or seeing a prostitute. So, you know,
Yes, yes. So okay. I've got a further dimension to these arrangements. So so I think a lot of people will still want to have sex with each other, and there will be facilities. So basically, um, it's a sort of time and place thing. So if you have sex with a prostitute in a red light district, then it's legal sex. Um, and so the prostitute can't say to you, "Oh, 3 months later, I'm carrying your child, Vincent, and you have to pay for it," which is currently the situation, isn't it, in America?
well, if you get a prostitute pregnant, yes, you will have to pay for the child. Though under your system, if a man gets a woman pregnant who he is not married to, he does not need to support the child. So I mean,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
if
but he'll
you
get 100 lashes, and she'll get 100 lashes.
I know, but he
So
doesn't pay child support. So now you have this woman on her own who's a prostitute, and she has to raise a child on her own. And who's going
yeah,
to?
yeah. So she, if she's sensible, she won't.
Okay,
And
but
and, and
what woman in her right mind is going to accept that a man gets off scot free and she has to pay for the child?
well, I think she should accept that it would be better for the next generation if they were brought up in a two-parent household, reared by their two biological married parents living
People
together
only
in a loving relationship. And if they can't
people
even agree
that
this principle,
when they're
then
forced.
the thought criminals, and nobody should take them seriously.
Claire, nobody stays in married couples for very long unless there's some sort of for legal or social force forcing them to do this. So a
Yes,
person,
yes, and I'm privileging married parents. So they're going to feel privileged, and they're going to want to do that. And that's why I'm treating unmarried parents as sex offenders. So it's really clear. So people aren't going, oh, I'm a bit confused about the rules and I got it wrong and now I'm knocked up. No, it's very clear, as it used to be in the olden days. And you kind of you can predict the consequences if you
So
sneak around
why
as
does
a woman.
have to pay, and why would you cause social chaos by having children that were raised on half an income and only a mother and not a father? Why does the father get away with all of this?
No, he doesn't get away with all
He
of it. He
Claire,
will get 100 lashes. He'll get 100 lashes if she knows where he lives. Shouldn't you at least know where the person you've had sex with lives? Okay, so look, I know this is all horrible, but I mean, if you want casual sex, you can get it in a red light district, and this is how I propose it's going to work. So, obviously, people need somewhere to have sex. So I have this idea of love hotels, which is rooms that you hire out by the hour. Okay, so in the red light district, there will be licensed brothels and there will be singles bars. So, you go to your singles bar, you chat someone up, you think you want to have sex with them, then you go to your love hotel, and the deal would be, kind of bring your own prostitute, kind of thing. Like, some restaurants, they have an on license, they or others, that there are restaurants that allow you to bring your own bottle, but they might charge you corkage. So anyway, so the whole idea is that you bring your own prostitute, you have sex with her in the love hotel, and then off you go.
Yeah, but look, Claire, most men who go out at night are not looking for a prostitute. Most men who go out at night are looking for a girl to chat up that might possibly lead to a relationship, and they want to test her before marriage. Okay, like generally men want to sleep with a woman before he marries her, because what if she's not good in bed?
Well, maybe they can kind of get good in bed together with each other in a loving relationship.
Okay,
It's like, it's not the be all and end all. Okay, they're not much good. Maybe you can get them to get better. I mean, there are all kinds of videos and stuff that married couples used to watch together, aren't there? All these books on how to have better sex. Come on, it's not like the end of the world.
You say, first of all, my system of artificial wounds doesn't take an ounce of force. Not an ounce of force. I don't need police officers. I don't need morality police. I don't need spies. I don't need any of that. Your system is forcing people to do what they don't want to do. People are going to be breaking the system left and right. You're going to need a police force and a judiciary, and you're going to close.
We already have that. And it's going to be really easy to catch people out. It's like, oh, if you have children and you don't have a marriage license, then you're obviously guilty. 100 lashes at the local shopping mall, town square, village green, whatever. It has to be public. And then people will soon get the message, Imagine, you're a kid going to the shopping mall and this person is being lashed 100 times and you go, Mommy, what's he done wrong? And your mom will tell you. So I think, it will be reinforced at every level. The whole idea that you're not supposed to be unmarried parents, and that children should be brought up by their two married parents.
Claire, this takes a lot of energy input into the system. You're going to have to constantly be propaganda, force, police, judiciary. You're going to need a lot of force to enforce that.
No, there won't even be a bedroom police. That's what I'm saying. So okay, you still want to have sex with people you're not married to, and you can if you don't. If you don't get anyone pregnant, or if you don't get pregnant yourself, if you're female, you can go to this red light district full of singles bars and love hotels, and I was thinking of having geisha houses where you don't have sex with the women, and if you're a woman, you might want to go there to have a conversation with some man who will buy you a drink, maybe even a meal, to get to know you better. And that's a kind of uh, setup I have in mind for people who don't want to have sex before they're married. And I'm going to be having marriage bureaus, like all the people in a particular area, they want to get married. They go, oh, I'll match them up. And if they're not marriageable, there will be, classes in marriageability. I guess a kind of, oh, can you cook? Can you clean? Do you nag? Do just things that a wife or a husband might find attractive in a spouse. DIY for men, I guess. So it can be done, reasonably easily. And then gay people can just go about their business. They can have their gay clubs or whatever. I mean, but they can't call it gay clubs.
You're asking people to give up lots of privileges. You're asking people to give up lots of comforts. You're asking people to give up.
Those love hotels will be checked. They can't. They'll be cleaned properly and stuff.
Look, people don't want to give up their privileges. That's like saying that you've given someone a $1,000 deposit a week, and you're asking them to willingly give up the money.
Well, obviously, okay. What I'm doing is, I'll admit that I'm lowering the status of people who aren't married parents. I'm definitely doing that, and that includes gay people. It's like, but I mean, the principle is that people should have enough children to keep the country going.
Okay, but you think you're going to come into a liberal society and force all this on everybody. And also, look, you want to gain control of the media and take things over overnight. The Jews have been working on the Noahide laws since the beginning of time, but they've really been working on them for about 30 years now, a little bit more than 30 years, or more than 40 years. They've been infiltrating the government and the education system for 40 years.
I don't think they've even done it because they haven't called out Christians for their idolatry.
Well, individual ones are, but they're smarter than you, Claire. They're not going to just go up on TV and call every Christian in America an idolater and expect.
All they have to do is post a tweet saying 1, Islam, 2, Buddhism, 3, Hinduism, 4, Christianity.
All incomplete, all substandard, all shit. Look, Claire, you're asking them to choose the piece of shit that smells the least bad.
I'm asking them to choose the most no-hide Gentile religion, and if it's Islam, then it's Islam. I mean, that's the logic of it.
Claire, almost doesn't count.
Well, they won't do it, and that means that the cowards, the hypocrites, and they're cursed by God. And if they're going to say, "Ooh, but we don't care," it's like, well, then you've only been pretending that you believe in God all this time, and a pox on your house.
Claire, you want them to break God's wishes. You want to be the new God. You want to make up all these rules that nobody follows, that nobody believes in, that nobody interprets.
I didn't make them up. It's all in their scriptures. It's not stuff that I made up.
4 Gentile religions. There weren't 4 Gentile religions when the Talmud was written, except for Christianity. There was no Islam.
Okay, I've just updated, their methodology. I mean, what is the point of the Noahide laws? It's like, if you think about Jews, it's like they're a very, very small group of people, and they're always whinging about being persecuted and pogromed. So nobody really expects them to be telling Gentiles what to do. I mean, all they can do is say, in our opinion, the ranking of the 4 Gentile religions is as follows. And I'm saying only 4 because I came across this website that basically says there are 5 world religions, and that that's obviously Judaism, Christianity, Islam, Hinduism, and Buddhism. And can you think of the 6th one? Nobody can.
there's other religions. I mean, don't count out like polytheist pagans that are not all one religion, but basically believe in the same thing. There are other religions out there.
Okay, but
And
they're sort of too small to count. So obviously, I'm not going to find a comprehensive list and waste the time and energy of these rabbis. It's just enough to make a point. Like there's just four. I'm not asking to climb Mount Everest on your own. Just rank them. Why can't you? And it's like it's a very reasonable request. And if they won't do it, it means that there's some sinister reason behind it.
no, look, Claire, if they rank the four Gentile religions and put Islam on top, that would be suggesting people should convert to Islam, and they're never.
Yes.
No, but I'm never going to suggest that because Islam is
Okay,
not.
so they're basically, dishonest charlatans. They can't even admit that out of all the four Gentile religions, Islam is the most Noahide, closest to Judaism. Are you saying they can't even do that?
Nobody's going to go against their own interests and their own God for you, Claire.
Well, maybe there might be some, honorable rabbi and principal rabbis who feel bad that Jews have not been doing what they were being supposed to do for millennia.
They're just not doing it.
5,000 fucking years, and they can't do it.
They're doing it now, but they were in the time of the concealment. No Jew is going to tell you we were supposed to be doing this during the scattering.
Okay. I'm not saying they should have been doing it, but if they live in America and they have the First Amendment, they can certainly do it. And if they live in Europe, which has the European Convention of Human Rights, then they can do it. Nobody's going to kill them. So they have no excuse for not doing it. Other than, but we don't want to do it, now because then people ask questions about why we didn't do it.
There are major rabbis like Rabbi Schneerson who did call Christianity idolatry. So, and there are rabbis on YouTube calling Christianity idolatry every day, and the thing is that the other rabbis, it's not that they don't believe it, it's just they're a little bit smarter than you, and they're just saying, if we want this to work, now is not the time to come out. You want to go on TV and say, you're all idolaters. Like,
yes.
Yeah, but Claire, that's not going to get you anywhere.
Yes, why not? Why not? It's like, how are you going to tell these people? They're just going to pretend not to hear you, right? And if Jews on their own tell Christians, the Christians are just going to hand wave it away. If Muslims do it on their own, same thing will happen. Jews and Muslims have to get together and say this is a joint message from Jews and Muslims informing Christians. Or just asking Christians how Christianity is not idolatry, and if they're going to say that it's not idolatry to worship Jesus if he is God, then how is Jesus God? It's like that's all they have to ask.
Look, Claire, this is what they do. Loudly, they do not call Christianity idolatry. Right now, they are calling Christianity idolatry. If you got into Judaism or if you got into the Noahide laws, yes, eventually you would be told that Christianity is idolatry and you shouldn't.
Just tell it to them now.
They're smarter than you.
About the bush.
Claire, they're going to win.
2,000 years. Come on.
How many more people, how many Christians have left idolatry and became secular Quranists versus the number of Christians who have left Christianity, became Noahides, and are anti-idolatrous now? There's a whole lot more Noahides than there are secular Quranists.
Okay, it doesn't matter. These Noahides will. Okay, I don't really care what they believe. It's their governments. It's the laws that they live under. And I'm afraid, no Gentile nation is going to say, oh, rabbis, we want you to interpret our Noahide laws for us. No way.
They don't. They give you the books and you do it yourself. The Jews are not responsible for going outside of Israel and enforcing the Noahide laws on people.
Okay, so they just write the four Gentile religions and then they will have discharged their duty and God will be cool with them and they don't need to worry about being cursed anymore. And Muslims also have to, do what I just said about, admonishing those who claim that God has begotten a son, chapter 18, verse 4. And then God will be cool with them, and then the Christians will repent and adopt secular Quranism, and then within a few generations, all these Westerners will have become Muslim majority countries, and then God will be cool with that.
Good luck getting the Jews on your side, Claire. Good luck getting on the media and calling every Christian in America an idolater. Good luck with your plan, because if I had to put my money on someone, secular Quranism or Noahidism, which is way far ahead of you and has been doing this for 40 years, and how long have you been doing it, and you don't have a single follower, like, I'm going to choose the Noahide laws. I'm going to put my money on them rather
Yeah, but they're not really going to do anything. They're just going, these rabbis are just going to go, be nice to these Gentiles on
not
Zoom,
when they
and
not look,
then they
not
maybe bless them or swear them in, and then these
okay.
silly Gentiles will
Claire,
feel
you
like
want
they're
to
going
be
to enter heaven. It's just so dumb.
no,
Such a fraud, and it doesn't change the
you
laws.
Claire, look, you want them to come in guns blazing, guns
Yes.
when they have no power, or they're in the beginnings of gaining their power, they're in the beginnings of their movement. You just want a bunch of Jews to bust into Congress with guns and be
No,
like,
no, they don't have to go anywhere. All they have to do, and a lot of them are already on Twitter, is just post in a tweet, number 1, Islam, number 2, Buddhism, number 3, Hinduism, number 4, Christianity. And that's all they have to do. And if they're feeling brave, they can tag the Pope and the Archbishop of Canterbury, as Mujahid did. Actually, Mujahid did that. If you remember him, he did ask the Pope and the Archbishop of Canterbury the
absolutely
questions that I
disgusting.
proposed.
The other thing that's absolutely disgusting and pathetic is all these Muslims groveling, saying, please call us Noahides, please call us Noahides, even though we're not Noahides. Please just give us the best piece of shit reward. Please give us the least criminal reward. I mean, I only raped someone once. Christians raped people 4 times, so let me out of jail and put me up on a pedestal and call me the best example of a civilized human being.
Well, actually, quite a few Muslim anti-Semites don't even want to do it. I mean, they don't even want to engage with rabbis because they hate them so much. So there's a problem with them. But I think God will punish anti-Semites and Islamophobes. So it's kind of their problem, and the punishment is just sort of not solving the problem quicker. Because if they just lay aside their hatred, then Jews and Muslims would know what to do with the Christians, and then the Christians would get the message and repent and adopt secular Quranism, and within 2 or 3 generations they'll be Muslim, and then Amanda is asking which Muslims are doing that. And she's asking whether the birds have any eggs, so maybe you want to talk about your birds and their eggs.
Yes, my birds do have eggs in that second nest. So you see the one on the right, the second one, there's 2 in there incubating them. I have 3 eggs in there. And up top that you can't see right now, I have another egg. I have another egg. But yeah, they're doing good. I gave all their names the other day. I gave all their names the other day. We could talk about them. Claire, we're going around in circles because it's always the same thing with you, that you think that everyone's just going to go dropping everything for you and change all their rules for you.
I'm not asking them to change all their rules. I'm just drawing their attention to their rules. I didn't make them their rules.
Claire, ranking 4 un-Noahide religions in an attempt to get people to accept an un-Noahide religion is not their rule.
Well, obviously, it's a new interpretation that they're not going, that they dislike, because it kind of shows them up for not being as smart as they ought to be. It's like it takes me to come along and tell them, like, you can interpret your rules in this way and solve all these problems, in the way that I recommend, and they can't face it. Yes, a very good question from Amanda, who asked, which Muslims are begging to be Noahide? They must be very confused.
No, they all. Look, Mujid or Mahajid or whatever is Muhajin. He's like a schizophrenic Muslim in that
He's a
he
Salafist.
no, but he says so. First of all, he's against the Noahide laws on one side of it, but then he's desperate to get. He always tells me, "Oh no, I'm a good Noahide. I follow the Noahide laws. Muslims are good Noahides." He's obsessed with getting that seal of approval for Islam, even though he's against the Noahide laws. He still wants to be counted as kosher.
Well, yes, I mean, I guess, everybody thinks Jews are, the aristocracy of humanity,
Gross.
you know. Well, they do. I mean, they think, oh, the leprechauns or something, which is what the Chinese think. I mean, what can you do? Okay, maybe the people who have sort of funny ideas about leprechauns because they live on, the end of the rainbow and there's a pot of gold and these things capture the imaginations of people. And they can't let go of it. I mean, it's the same with monarchy. I'm just horrified at the number of Americans who want a monarch. It's like, what do you want? Do you want Prince Harry of Santa Barbara to be your king? Are you crazy? And oh yes, Meghan Markle, and Meghan can be Queen of America. I think there are some Americans who actually want that.
Not that many.
You admit that there are some.
Yeah, there
Oh
are.
my God.
Most Americans, if you ask them, do you want a monarchy, they would say no.
Do you remember, what's his name? Gandalf.
Yes, what happened to him? Didn't he fall off the face of the earth?
I think he did, but I remember he wanted a monarch. And so does what's his name? Jay. The good looking Chad.
Jay
Jay
Walker?
something. No, because there's Jay Walker, who's this guy I know. The Orthodox Christian, what's his name? Orthodox Christian. He has a YouTube channel. Jay Dyer.
Oh, Jay Dyer, yeah, Jay Dyer. Yeah, where's Jen been? Has she been around or did she disappear?
Well, she no longer streams. I think she must have got a job or something. I don't know. I'll have a look at her channel. Yeah, look, a few people have fallen off their purchase. Yes. Church of Entropy. Let's see her last live stream, which must be a few months ago, I think. Yeah, 5 months ago. 6 months ago.
Oh my God. Where's she been?
Well, I don't know, but I think she's just trying to be very careful. She still tweets, but in a boring, like, what you on about? I don't even care.
What is she being very careful about?
I don't know. I imagine she must have a job, and that's why she's kind of not, keeping ahead. Actually, she's just tweeted on the 18th. So she's talking about method acting and chat GPT and, art and pretty pictures and 3D and, I think she's just not doing it.
Well, yeah, well. Hold on, I have to go to the bathroom, Claire.
All right.
I'll be right back.
So I'm going to find the tweet of Mujahid, and I hope you guys will follow him. For some reason, I get on with Salafis because at least they're honest. They're not, they're trying to get back to a time when the Quran was interpreted literally in the time of the rightly guided caliphs. And I think that is, well, that's useful for me. There we go. There we go. That's on September the 17th. Please follow. Please follow Mujahid.
What?
No, I'm just saying, please follow Mujahid, who has tagged the Pope and the Archbishop of Canterbury, asking them how Christianity is not idolatry and how Jesus is God. And I'm going to encourage other Muslims to do that by tagging a whole bunch of Muslims, and maybe they'll retweet it or be shamed in some way. Yeah, so he says, to the Pope, can you please explain to me how and why Christianity is not idolatry, considering Christians worship a man? And the same message to the Archbishop of Canterbury. So actually that's enormously helpful, and I'm just trying to get him lots of followers.
Oh. I don't think your plan's gonna work, Claire.
Why not? Why don't you want me to succeed? Because you can bask in my reflected glory. You can be the the protector of gay people in America under secular Quranism. You kind of got a hotline to me.
I don't want to live under secular Quranism.
It's not going to happen overnight. It's not like I mean, if you became a secular Quranist, well, we're not going to be secular Quranist by Christmas or even next Christmas. It's going to take a while, and by the time you get used to the idea, you'll probably get book deals and media appearances where you can promote your own ideas, and you'll get into it. I mean, you're actually very important because you're going to use secular Quranism to protect gay people. To see that that the what do you call it, the what's the word I'm talking about? Flashback, pushback. Well, won't be too severe, because I mean, I guess if you push, the heterosexual married people too far, they're going to backlash. That's what I meant.
Well, there's very few of them anymore. There's very few heterosexuals that haven't had a divorce, and so I don't know how moral they feel going around telling people that they can't have gay marriage when they themselves have no full divorce. Like, who are they?
That's going to be cancelled as well.
What?
No full divorce will be abolished.
And nobody's going to want that, Claire, when 50% of the population is divorced.
Okay, so it's like, yeah, you're divorced, but maybe you can remarry your your spouse or whatever, but as long at least your kid is legitimate. It could be worse. I mean, there's something in it for everyone. I mean, they'll get lower taxes and fewer laws, and they won't, always be wondering how crazy their government is going to be. It's. I think they will relish the order and progress, and also um the lightening of their conscience. They must be feeling so bad most of the time. Like, what have we done? Are we cursed?
Uh-huh.
Well, I think so. I mean, I'm sure even gay people, wonder where the hell it's all going. Well, I think it's sad that you can't decide on who you're going to vote for. I mean, you're actually saying you're not going to vote next year, aren't you?
Not unless there's someone worth voting for. I'm not voting for Trump. I'm not voting for DeSantis. I don't think I would vote for Ramaswamy because I think I have some evidence that he's wrapped up with the rabbis. I don't want to vote for Joe Biden. I don't want to vote for Kamala Harris.
Well, I think it's silly to even have presidential elections. I mean, it's like China doesn't do any of this, and it's running itself well enough for America to be
Yeah,
nervous.
also, Claire, also in China, they have factories where people live there 364 days a year and get 1 day off a year to see their family.
Well, maybe. Well, I'm going to recommend secular Quranism for China too. I'm recommending it for everybody, really. And once they have it, they'll feel that their lives will have improved. They'll just have a better. They'll just be more optimistic, I think, and also they'll think of their governments, with less hostility, and the ruling classes will be less nervous of rebellion and revolution. But actually, China does have elections, but in a more organized way. They don't have to, basically, their ruling classes don't have to humiliate themselves the way American Western politicians do. Be forced to tell lies and all that. I think it's just like like voting for to reappoint your director, your CEO at an AGM, shareholders meeting. I think it's something like that, far more dignified.
Right.
That's a bit untidy on the floor. Is that your stuff?
I'm in the middle of doing stuff, but I'm looking for something.
You look like you're coloring some books or something on the floor.
No, this is garbage. This is stuff I have to take care of. On the weekend. Oh God, I have to cut my hair.
See your hair?
No, I'm not letting you see my hair right now because I'm unshaved and my hair is all in the air and gross.
You have such cute feet.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I'm just walking around my house looking for stuff.
That screen is quite attractive.
The screen?
Yeah. I'm just thinking, it's probably. I mean, I think I would like that, just to, if I ever show myself. I think a lot of YouTubers do it too. They use this Japanese screen thing, and as a background. But then you can easily have a background now on StreamYard. They kind of do a really nice room to be your background when you stream.
Yeah, that kind of, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, Claire, well, you're going to have to, is Amanda still watching? Amanda, are you still watching? I'll show you my...
I don't know. The three people watching, there's somebody called Arslan Sultan Bekov. who asks why vote, and it's a good question. So it just drives me crazy. It's like nobody believes in voting anymore. Westerners don't, and the politicians. I don't think they enjoy it, because if I were a politician and forced to go and lie to get people to vote for me, and know that I'll have to break my promise, and then they'll hate me even more, I just wouldn't want to do it. So I don't know why they feel they have to keep doing it. And this is a point I want to make to people. It's like, what I'm proposing is not so horrifying, if you can just, make the mental adjustments that you need to make. And all I want is for some, legally trained person to ask me proper questions instead of just freaking out on me. And I was hoping that the rabbis would be the ones, but they're just, they're doing let's just ignore her and maybe she'll go away kind of thing. But basically, what I'm going to do is sick the Muslims on them, because it'll just be the easiest thing in the world to get all these Muslims once that to do what Mujahid did. Tag the Pope and the Archbishop of Canterbury, and then ask the others to do it, and then the Pope and Archbishop of Canterbury will get the message, and then and I'd like to think the Jews would do it too, and then everybody does it, and the Pope and Archbishop will be in no doubt that the rest of the world is onto their idolatry and blasphemy. And then they can repent, and everybody can forgive each other, and live happily ever after, or something like that.
Claire, this sounds very dystopian.
No, it sounds very utopian. I'm just giving you the best case scenario of how things are going to turn out if the Jews listen to me. But unfortunately, I think they're just going to resist me, and I'm going to have to fight them, and they're just going to run away, which is so cowardly of them. But,
Right.
okay. Oh yes, I was going to read to you what Edward Martin was saying, because he's been saying, I've been telling these people about you, and they think you're stupid.
Yeah, well.
Oh yes, he's already commented on this stream.
What does
He might
say?
even be listening to us now, because I mean, every time I post something on Facebook, he just comes up.
Why doesn't he show
Pardon?
his face? Why did you have a fake profile?
I don't know. I don't know, really.
He's accusing us of being all fucked up, and he doesn't even have a real profile.
Yeah.
It's because he's Jewish, and he knows he's into messed up stuff, and he knows he's into messed up stuff, and so he wants to hide. And like with this Noahide thing, the Jews never come to me and talk to me because they want to hide. They don't want to discuss this. Richard, I know he doesn't want to discuss the Noahide laws, because every time I ask him about it, he corrects my spelling. So every time that I'm like, well, what about the Noahide laws? You spelled this wrong, and that's very Jewish. It's very
Sorry,
Jewish.
who corrects your spelling? Edward does.
Whenever I bring up the Noahide laws, Edward Martin corrects my spelling, and like that's his big contribution to the debate, is correcting people's spelling. That's what he offers to the world, and he thinks that makes him like he wins. He wins.
Yeah. Well, he doesn't really make that much sense. I mean, I'm only half joking when I say, that he suffers from senile dementia, because he never addresses any of the issues. I mean, I guess I'm quite grateful to him for responding to every single post of mine, even though it's, completely irrelevant and it's only to denounce me. But it's sort of nice when somebody always responds to you, no matter what you say.
Yeah, I know it is nice to get response, even if it's a negative response, because that means at least people are listening to your stuff and have something to say. But you know, people only respond when they actually have either they have a cogent point to make. People respond when they have a cogent point to make, especially when they're against you. And that's why the Jews don't respond to me, because they have no point to make, because all their points are trash when it comes to this subject. And, yeah, well, and Edward Martin is the same thing. He either wants to say, oh, and this is another thing that these secular liberal Jews that do that is so disgusting. Well, I never heard of this. Well, who the fuck are you? You know what I mean? Like, what do you mean?
Yeah, it's just you're ignorant.
I know. Jonas Hansen said that same thing to me. He's like, I've never heard of this. And I'm like, so what? Like, because you've never heard of it, that means that it has no relevancy? Like, who are you that if you haven't heard of anything, that means that it has no relevancy anywhere?
Well, I suppose to be fair, I sometimes say that, oh, I never heard of it. But then, then you've heard of it, right?
Yeah, now you've heard of it. What's your opinion now? Nobody wants to answer that question. They don't want to answer, well, now you do know. And, like, that's the thing Jews say, well, a lot of Jews don't know. Well, now you do. What's your opinion now that you do know? Do you have an opinion? Like, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, I guess, and then they'll say, I'll get back to you and whatever. The most annoying thing about people who do buy my book, it's like, they don't read it. It's just so annoying.
Yeah, no, I know, and I
It's
know.
like, well, I guess you got, okay, I can't complain. At least you bought the book, even if you don't write, but it would be nice. And, maybe you could give me a review or something. And it's like, so I got as far as somebody to, this chap, he just gave me a list of all the typos, and I said, oh, you read it really carefully. Thank you for, when if I do make a revision, I'll incorporate all the, all the typos that you so carefully noticed. And how about actually dealing with the substance of the arguments? And nothing. He's not going to do it, is he? So, oh, but a comma out of place he's going to mention. But the substance of the argument, they're not going to say anything.
Well, no, that's what Edward Martin does. He doesn't care about the substance of the argument. He only cares about spelling. And it's just a way to get out. Like, liberals do that. Like, liberals and Jews have a lot of the same kinds of tactics, where liberals will ignore your argument if you misspeak. Like, I cannot tell you how many times liberals, I've mispronounced a word, and they start laughing and they just cut me off totally because I mispronounced a word. Conservatives and non-Jews don't do that. Conservatives and non-Jews understand, okay, just because you mispronounced a word, number one, it doesn't mean you don't know what you're talking about. Number two, it's because you learned it from reading rather than hearing it, which means you're a reader, and it's, you actually read things, and, you're not just doing it because somebody told you. I mean, liberals are very like, unless they're told by the proper authority that is one of them, they don't, or they read the right book, and then, the liberal professor or the liberal, they go straight from the book anyway. It's not very, like, innovative. And, so they only use words that they've heard pronounced from the right person. You know what I mean? Like, and the thing, yeah, they don't have words that they've come across in reading that they don't know how to pronounce or whatever. It's just obvious. And even if they do, the idea of dismissing someone's argument because they mispronounced or misspelled something is just ridiculous. It's just,
the liberals are just trying so hard to find any excuse to disengage, right? They can't argue. They haven't got arguments to support. I'd hate to be a liberal and trying to deal with the arguments. They're none.
They're
If you cared about the
horrible.
arguments, you wouldn't be a liberal, would you?
Well, they're horrible. I mean, I'm a liberal. I'm not a leftist, but I believe in like liberal social values and stuff like that. But um, yeah, they're just it's gross. It's gross. And then just well, Jews and liberals do the same thing. Jews throw out anti-Semitism, and liberals throw out racism and sexism and homophobia. It's just to silence people and stop the argument from going. Like Edward Martin wants us in jail.
Yes, yes. But we will continue to defy him, I think.
Well, he just sounds like an angry Jew that is not getting anywhere and, can't deal with the fact that there's intelligent people discussing things that he doesn't like and he wants to censor it like a typical Jew. And, like they're so stereotypical, all of them, they're just horrible.
Yeah, I mean, they're so stupid, but I mean, uh, Edward basically identifies as a liberal Democrat. I have had, a conversation with him, an exchange with him. Really, I haven't spoken to him, but this is what he wants to be. It's his religion. So even though he's a Jew, I guess he grew up thinking that liberal democracy is the best thing in the world, and he's not going to have anyone dissing his religion. I think that explains the position of so many people who don't want to admit they're wrong. And I think the older they are, the more unwilling to admit that they've been wrong.
Whenever
Vincent's
I'm
got
done talking to them, I don't really talk to anyone anymore, and I just do my work and I spread it, and it is true, hardly anyone talks to me, and because it's not the stuff that I present doesn't have this kind of like twist to it, and that first of all, it's not fake made up garbage. Like it's not Christian. So I don't sit around talking about the Antichrist all day and Jesus and all this supernatural shit. And Christians, if it's not coming from a Christian, they don't want to listen to it. They don't accept the truth from whoever says it. They only accept the truth when it comes from a pastor or another Christian. I mean, a non-Christian could tell them 1+1 = 2, and they're not going to listen. Um, Liberals are too scared to go against Jews because that looks like anti-Semitism and going after a minority, so they don't want to talk about it. And conservatives, I'm gay. It's socially liberal. I support gays on my No Hide website and say that they're in trouble too. They don't want to hear that. Nobody like it's look, those Christian religious people that weave Christianity into their anti-Noahidism and who give false information, they get responses because it's low-level information and trash and lies. You know what I mean? And liberals will listen to, oh, the Noahide laws are, you know what a liberal would listen to? The Noahide laws are all about women's rights and gay rights and religious rights. And Jews do say that all the time. It's about freedom of religion. You know what I mean? That's what a liberal wants to hear about the Noahide laws, that it's about freedom of religion and gay rights.
Hmm.
And a conservative wants to hear that they're not that bad because they are against idolatry, blasphemy, and homosexuality anyway. So what could be wrong with these laws? And we actually like them. So shut up. And so nobody has anything to say.
Well, everybody is in their own echo chamber of thinking that their views are correct, and I think it's because most people are atheists. So if you accept the logic that if you're an atheist, you're worshiping your own opinion, right? That
You're
is
not
the
worshiping.
Indian.
Claire, I mean, the
of
funny thing is,
atheism.
you Abrahamics bring this up all. You call everything worship. You call everything that is not worshiping your God as worship. Anything, if someone has their own thought and they agree with themselves, they're worshiping themselves. If somebody likes a football player a lot, they're worshiping him. You know, worship is a very specific kind of word and means something very specific. You can't just throw that word around all the time.
No, but I'm not, because I mean the whole idea is that you okay. There's a verse in the Quran that talking about these people who have made a god of their appetites. So it's saying that you become cattle if you just you are guided by your appetites or your moods or your emotions, and you don't follow any rules. And isn't this the problem of Western democracies? It's basically Congress just doing whatever it feels like, and not being accountable to anyone, and having no intention of being accountable to anyone. And I think this is fundamentally the problem, isn't it? I mean, if Congress just does what it likes and everybody else do what they like and believe what they like, and you can't challenge them because they get angry with you, then, well, problems are not going to be solved. Mistakes are going to be doubled down on. People will be afraid to speak truth to power. And bad situations will fester. So you don't even have to believe in God to do that. I mean, to come to this conclusion. And I was saying, it's a shame, because actually this belief in the Abrahamic God, it actually gives you a very quick way of solving your problems. It's like, well, why are people whinging all the time about their government? It's because, well, it's to do with the law. The law is an ass, or maybe there are proper laws, but nobody enforces them. And obviously, if you think of yourself as a Christian nation, then you've already broken two of the no-hide laws, and if you think it's okay to have sex with anyone who's another consenting adult, then you break the law forbidding sexual immorality. And if you like many states in America have downgraded theft from a felony to a misdemeanor, you're actually saying thieving is okay. So that will mean a lot of businesses will go out of business, because obviously they can't afford to have their stuff stolen every day. This is a spiral into hell, into third world status. So I'm actually reminded of this time when my parents they went to South America, and they bought something at a shop, and they said, oh, you can't even go into a shop. It's some booth, and you ask what you want, and then they'll give it to you, because the shopkeeper's too terrified of allowing anyone into their shop in case they get robbed. So this is how they do business in I don't know, Venezuela or whatever, wherever they were. I can't remember now. So this is where America is heading if you don't correct it. And it's like, well, all you have to do is agree that there should be laws forbidding murder, should be laws forbidding theft, forbidding unmarried parents. That's basically what sexual immorality really means. And don't eat an animal while it's still alive. And obviously, you need a court and legal system to administer all these laws. So America is breaking more and more, and I guess eventually they'll break all seven. And all because they don't care that they're idolaters, because they're mostly Christians. And yeah, I think Vincent, that the problem with Christians is that they just don't get idolatry. You can stand there explaining to them for hours on end why Christianity is idolatry, and they'll pretend not to understand you. Or if they did, they'll pretend not to understand you. Because, fundamentally, they're atheists. They think, well, we've got away with it for 2,000 years. We're going to get away with it some more. Which means they don't believe in God anyway. They don't think God exists to punish them, because I think we can deduce, can't we, that if God took the trouble to inform us about what his commandments are, he means to punish those who transgress. I mean, it's just sort of logical. I mean, there's no complicated conspiracy theory to give a lecture on, and that is why this system is so useful. But if most people don't believe in it anyway, I guess we're all fucked. All these Jews, all these Muslims, they don't want to talk about idolatry. They don't want to, they can't talk about it. I mean, the Jews,
Well,
they actually haven't done anything about it.
As orthodoxy rises because they are the new Jewish power, liberals are not having kids. They're mixing with non-Jews. They are lowering in number, and orthodoxy is becoming, very powerful in the government, and their advisors, and people seek them out, and they're actually doing things for Judaism in the government. In that, the Noahide laws are actually Judaism. They're not, voting. They're not trying to get people to promote abortion rights like liberal Jews, that has nothing to do with Judaism. And, that's why these Orthodox are the new name, and they're working at their own pace, and it's not your pace. And, but they're smarter than you. Hello? Where'd Claire go? Well, I don't know where she went. She must have booted herself. I'll give her a minute to come back on. Maybe she lost power. Though now, I come on here and it's the same conversation over and over. Same conversation over and over. I have a lot more. Yeah, I have a lot more faith in Noahide Ray than I do in Claire Call. Well, fortunately, most Jews are like, especially secular Jews, are like Edward Martin in that they're not going to really address the argument at all. They're just going to make fun of and make jokes. You know, and that's easier to deal with. Though I would like more heady conversation from them. I mean, I thought that these were Jews, and so I thought I would get more interesting conversation, but I'm not getting interesting conversation. I'm getting pin drop silence and nothing. And one Jew, Edward Martin, coming up on here and calling me an anti Semite without addressing my arguments.
People just don't get it. I think people are stupid. I think that I don't know where people get all this confidence from. I'm against the no hide laws because I don't feel safe. I don't feel like I'm in power. I don't feel like I'm above, you know, being brought down. Muslims and Christians, oh, there's so many of us. That's what you rely on. You don't have your intellect to rely on, so you have to rely on numbers and violence. And so you say, well, we have numbers. It doesn't take a large minority to control a government or to control a people. They say it only takes 3% of people to control a population. As long as you have 3% of people in the administrative class and the army, you can do it. We'll come out, you know, just just messed up stuff. It's just insane, and I want it to end. But it's not going to end anytime soon because the no hide laws have to take place. They need to rise. They need to become the governing system of the planet. Nobody's going to learn otherwise. They can't see it for what it is, and they're too arrogant to be scared. Too arrogant to be scared. Muslims and Christians are about the mass, just mass production, fast food, you know. They're not worried about getting too intellectual like the Jews are. It's not their thing. They're not going to take over a government with their minds. That's why that's why America is collapsing because, Christians used to enforce themselves and that they would go out and genocide everybody that didn't listen to them. But now, they don't do that anymore. And so they're losing power because, that's just the way Islam and Christianity has to be enforced on people. It just needs to be forced on them or they're not going to do it. Anyway, she doesn't seem to be coming back, so I'm going to leave. Bye, guys.